Hi, I'm Paulina Morelli, and welcome to my supermarket tour. So the supermarket I chose for my tour is the Fortinos close to my family home in Burlington, Ontario on Guelph Line. Now, I've chosen this one since it's a very, very large store and it's always busy. And I think this is because it's the closest one around to those living in rural Burlington, like myself, and it also services a large part of the North Burlington area. So just like in the supermarket tour, Fortinos is owned by Loblaw companies, who are also the owners of other commonly known stores such as No Frills, Shoppers, Loblaws, T&T, Bloor Street Market, and many, many more. Now, funny enough, in this area, the other nearby stores, besides Food Basics, are in fact No Frills and Shoppers, which highlights the amount of control over the market that one entity, such as Loblaw Companies, has. Moving on, while reading the supermarket tour, what surprised me the most was how many of the things that I thought were put in place for customer convenience or to improve the shopping experience are actually carefully and meticulously planned marketing strategies that incite customers to purchase more than they originally planned to. Overall, most, if not all, of the things that the supermarket tour mentioned were present in the Fortinos that I visited. For instance, as I'm walking to my aisle, I make note of all the items that people pass by the most during their shopping trips are actually on sale with big yellow tags or are tasty junk food to get people to add them to their carts in an impulse. All in all, after reading the supermarket tour, my expectations when visiting Fortinos were to be pretty disappointed by the food industry. So, without further ado, let's move on to my aisle, the dry goods. My objective was to investigate the dry goods aisles, where the popular highly processed items can be found, because I typically avoid this type of food. However, sometimes it's difficult to find organic or better, healthier alternatives to these foods at every grocery store, and I'm forced to venture into this godforsaken aisle to see if something good and hearty can be salvaged. I aimed to compare and contrast the products based on their nutritional value, the ingredients used, look at the availability of healthier options, and really question how much choice and knowledge about food the average consumer has when visiting the supermarket, Also keeping in mind all the implications that this has on our society. So, let's begin. Once I reached my chosen aisle, I immediately noticed a few things. 65 to 70% of the right side aisle was cereal. Different cereal brands everywhere, yet most of it was produced by the same companies. I even took the time to count these and found that, much like the supermarket tour said, Kellogg's owned a whopping 15 of the cereal brands. General Mills about the same with 12 different brands. PepsiCo came to 5, just like Post Holdings, and Loblaws had 2 of the healthier options, which was organic President's Choice and PC Blue. But before we get into corporate concentration and its relation to consumer health, let's first look at the nutrition behind these products, while still keeping in mind the limited number of companies supplying the food in this aisle. So as I checked out the aisle, there was not one product, not one, that did not include some sort of corn and or soybean derivative. And this is one of the parts that I found the most interesting in the supermarket tour, because I finally got a much, much clearer understanding of how and why so much corn and soybean is produced and incorporated into the products that we consume and or use. Now, what's so bad about this is that the foods in this aisle include highly processed versions of genetically modified corn and soybean, and the most pervasive of them all being high fructose corn syrup, which, along with many other derivatives, have many health implications, especially when consumed in such large amounts, like lots of people do in North America. Not to get into a nutrition lecture now, but most of these highly processed foods that I found in this aisle tended to be not only high in sugar, but also high in sodium, fats, have lots of artificial additives, hydrogenated oils, and a whole list of hard-to-pronounce ingredients that makes it difficult for the average consumer to understand and really know about what the food industry is selling them. And what's more is not enough testing has been conducted on the long-term effects on our health of consuming genetically modified plants like corn and soybean, yet food manufacturers continue to use these to lower their production costs. So who really knows how we are nourishing our bodies? Can we trust those who supply us the food we need to live? I mean, no wonder diabetes and obesity and other nutrition-related illnesses are more relevant now than ever before in North America. These foods are highly addictive and contain low nutritional value, yet they are the ones that receive the most advertisement and the best treatment by supermarkets. So it really sheds light on what the priority is for the industry. And as people consume more of these products, they become more addicted to them. Their palates become accustomed to the savory, sweet treats over truly nutritious whole foods, and it creates a loop that is hard to break and benefits the big companies more than it does us, the consumers. So not only is it a concern for our health and well-being, but also that of the environment. Producing all this corn and soybean in order to create inexpensive ingredients for highly processed foods like Kellogg's cereal also has huge implications on our environment. And while they're primarily grown to feed livestock and other things, they still are ubiquitous in the production of such foods that so many people consume daily. And at the end of the day, soil is depleted of a lot of its nutrients with corn, and deforestation happens to create more acreage for both crops to grow, all the while tons and tons of water are required to grow these plants. And the production of corn for the most part, because it's a thirsty bit. And a whole bunch of other things that come with industrial production of GMO corn and soybean, all of which exhaust and basically compromise a whole lot of our natural resources, and it's just simply not sustainable. Now that we know all of the implications that come with buying highly processed foods, let's look at what choices customers have in this aisle of the supermarket. So while there's an illusion of variety and choice given all the different cereal brands in the aisle, as mentioned before, and in the supermarket too, the majority of them are created by a few big companies. This brings back the question of, how much choice does the consumer really have? In the end, if the different cereals and snacks or whatnot are all manufactured by the same big companies, how different can they really be? How different in terms of ingredients and production practices and values and all these other factors? Are they all just kind of the same junk, just in different shapes and colors or different packaging? So this really makes it hard for the average consumer to find something different in the aisle. Now, continuing with this topic, when trying to find possibly healthier alternatives to the products in this aisle, there really wasn't much variety and they were harder to find. The ones by Post Holdings and like one or two by PC Blue or PC Organic tended to have slightly better nutritional facts and less ingredients, so less sugar, more fiber, and whatnot. Overall, these were scattered across the shelves with the other cereals and not really at buy level or eye level. So product placement, in addition to advertising, really plays a role here in which food customers will buy. And if these better alternatives aren't placed in the best spot, they're much less likely to be purchased. In this particular supermarket, the organics and natural dry goods section is completely separated and multiple aisles away. So it doesn't make it that easy for customers to compare the different options they have. And what's more, the popular brands are typically a cheaper option and are highly advertised, alluring, and not to mention addictive. One of the other things that I found interesting while looking at this aisle was the health claims that these products made, such as no artificial colors. Is this the only claim they can make about their products? Are they trying to advertise them as good or healthy by placing this on the packaging? How misleading is this to the untrained eye? Maybe advertising these foods as no preservatives or artificial colors creates the illusion that they are healthier, yet they still include a whole array of bad ingredients. All in all, reading the supermarket tour and visiting this Fortino's truly affected how I saw the food industry. And most importantly, it made me more aware of how companies and supermarkets influence our purchasing decisions all throughout the store, as well as how food variety and customer choice can actually be just an illusion. This experience has also showed me just how much making money in this industry, like many others, can be prioritized over people's health and the well-being of the environment. I truly learned many of the implications that buying certain foods have on society in general, our health, our resources, the environment, big corporations and their behavior, you name it. And last but not least, it really made me more conscious of how little informed lots of us are, especially with all the junk that we can find in our food if we look closely. And so made me question, whose job is it to rectify this lack of knowledge? Knowing something as significant as how your food is made and where it comes from and what labels mean, how you can avoid bad foods or impulse purchases is something that affects our day-to-day lives. And this is something that everyone can find value in. I've definitely benefited a lot from this tour, and I'm sure others can too. So that's all. I hope you've enjoyed my video, and peace out.